Welcome to Pangea World Theater's Lake Street Story Circle project. I'm Ellen Marie Hinchcliffe, and I'm the director of this program. Lake Street Story Circles invites 10 artists in to hold story circles and create new work. So over the summer, the artists have been holding story circles in Powderhorn Park, on Zoom, across the fences in people's backyards, community gardens, even right on Lake Street as the buildings were still smoldering. From that sacred roots comes the flowering that you're going to see tonight. All those stories, all that listening, all that space, all those questions are coming together. So I first really want to thank the artists for pushing through and making this work. I think it's a very important time and a very difficult time to make new work. I also want to acknowledge Minnesota State Arts Board for funding this program. And I want to say more arts funding for Indigenous and people of color-led arts organizations and independent artists. We need more arts funding. We need more art. Pangea World Theater is celebrating 25 years this year. They are an amazing arts organization. Please go to their website, see all the work they're doing on Lake Street, all the artists and communities they're bringing together. And if you're able, please make a donation. Normally this project would end in the theater and we would sell tickets, but this year it's just being given to you as an offering. So let's keep Pangea World Theater strong. Tonight you're going to see 5 artists, and woven throughout the evening you'll also see a music video by the Moadas. At the end there will be a chance for the artist to come on live and have an artist talk back. The work is about 45 minutes long, and then we'll have about 20 minutes for an artist talk back. So if you can stay for the whole thing, please do. The work is stunning, it's raw, and it's very much of this time. And it's my great honor to present Lake Street Story Circles Project 2020. Thank you for being here. Take care of yourself and take care of each other. Good night.
That I gained from doing this work, I might as well find something else to do. I'm in a weird spot, baby. I'm worried about my baby and nothing else. Have my priorities as well. My life is different. The world is different. I'm in a weird spot, baby. I'm worried about my baby and nothing else really matters.
This film contains partial nudity, the suggestion of blood, and discusses themes of racism and depression. I could walk forever and never find what I'm looking for. Where are you? I long for something that I cannot seem to find. So I keep walking and walking and walking, and as I walk down Lake Street, I see the rubble, the ash, the sparks of unrest, the buildings, the concrete, the streetlights, and if I close my eyes, I can almost imagine what it once looked like. And then it's gone. I try to think about the concrete crumbling beneath my feet and buildings fading in the breeze. I can picture it. The leaves fluttering in the wind, the soil beneath my feet. This was once unstolen land, untouched by capitalism and colonization, the first of many plagues among us. My heart rate rises thinking about how the street once looked. They tell me to just breathe. Well, that's easy for you to say. Just breathe. Just breathe. But how can I breathe when there's a virus in the air, when there's smog in the air, when the sea is rising, and when capitalistic notions have a hold on my intentions, causing my depression, the oppression? With the revolution pounding at my doorsteps, I say without justice there can be no peace. But now I have this mask on my face. I'm stuck in my apartment with these four walls and this concrete floor. Always concrete. And my body and mind screaming for soil and sun. But is it safe? Are any of us safe? With that skin color, you're not safe. I'm not safe. Who is safe?
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes, I imagine what would happen if I laid down in the soil and just let roots start to grow. Ferns sprouting from my knees, leaves reaching around my hair, vines stretching across my arms. And just as we start and end life, I am once again with the land. What would happen if the concrete below us just started to crumble away, exposing what is really below, exposing the systems that bind us, revealing the pain and trauma? Sometimes I just want to scream, why won't you apologize for what you've done? I crumble. My knees hit the concrete. The blood pounding in my ears. The blood that carries my DNA. The DNA of ancestors before me. I don't just carry their trauma. I must remember I carry their resiliency too. Their fight. Their drive to survive. Resiliency is also inherited. And they've tried to make me forget. Make me forget the ones out there who are still missing. The ones they've buried 6 feet under the ground. They drained our valleys, relocated our homes, cut our hair. They have tried to take every part of us that makes us who we are. But they will never succeed. We are persistent. Resiliency runs through our veins. We have been pushed down for too long. This is where it stops. So I take a breath. I stand up, I wipe the dust off, and I march on for those who can no longer march.
In this culture, we don't have adequate rituals to release and express grief. We hardly have the language for it. We don't give ourselves time for it.
So, I am Miré. I've been dreaming about a way to not keep all this grief, all this anguish stuck inside of me. And there's just not a place for Black women, for African American women, to center their grief and to have a space to feel that. And if we're lucky to move through it, but to have a space that's dedicated to time for grief, to rituals for grief. And so I am in the process of building one.
My body knows how to do this, to feel the feelings, to see through to the other side, to allow the pain the love, the lost through, to swirl in me and pass out into the greater universe. I can handle my loss, my missed people, my missed opportunities under the vagaries and brutalities of a wounded people. I can survive and transcend the created and creative disconnects. I can stand the loss of each life, the implosion of each start, each destruction, each diminishment of each essential kernel of the universe. But I must feel my relationship to each, sort through, sense the difference, and let in each soft ending, each life in flow, each pulverized opportunity, each pinprick or raging greed that is killing us too soon. All stars flame out eventually, whether in the infinite sparkling sky at the velocity of light, or under the specific and repeated pressure of wanting, of needing to squeeze all I can out of life, whether slowly, inch by inch, or in a blaze of fear and conflict. My sparkle, my diamond spirit resides in my smallest particle, my soul most infinitesimal. I love fully if in reverse. I am made of stardust, but more importantly, stars are made of me.
We want to just being outside with the wind, right? Getting out of a stuffy building. You know, sometimes I always feel like my church happens outside. It doesn't happen in the building.
So you pick your materials, or I pick my materials, and built and got it put together and got the canvas on it. And then that night I went to bed, and while we were all sleeping, unbeknownst to me, it was a night of windstorms and a night, not even of rain, but of windstorms. And I knew something was funny when I woke up, because when I woke up, I was so angry, just so angry. And then when I went into the living room and opened the blinds, a bunch of the fabric had been pulled away from the staples. So yeah, I was not happy with how it was built. And I've had to go back in and tack and restring a bunch of the fabric. So it is not as far as I would like it to be, but it will be done, and it will be done soon. And so what I'm going to do with the build, I have a couple more things that are coming, and it will be on the front lawn and in use and in practice by me and any other folks who want to come use it until probably the last week of October. And then I will take it down because it's not a wintersome object. But then it will go back up in the spring. And when it goes up in the spring, there will be an express and explicit invitation to Black women to come and use it to sit with and transform their grief.
And the other thing that I wanted to say that I know this in my soul, and I know this from my ancestors, and I've experienced it a little tiny bit, that on the other side of grief is joy.
Hey. How are you? How am I? My body feels like I'm carrying an extra 200 pounds around with me everywhere I go. Like a whole second body on top of my regular body. Like, I'm so tired. Like I'm doing everything twice. ¿Me entiendes? Yeah. Yeah, I get you. Like my brain feels like it's floating in like soup or jelly, something thick and nasty.
You know who's thick and nasty? Sorry. Yes, I know what you mean.
My head hurts, like inside and outside. Like my thoughts hurt. My hair aches.
Your hair? What have you been doing to your hair?
Nothing. Like actually nothing. Not even touching it.
Pero, like, why?
I don't think I know why. I feel like I can't do it right anymore. Like, I used to give myself the most perfect, beautiful braids every morning before school. Así como lo hacía mi abuelita en las mañanas debajo de su árbol de maracuyá. But I feel like I can't do it anymore. Like, I try to brush through all my hair and I get halfway through it and get pissed off and just throw my brush across the room. And if I do get to the point where I can start the braids, my arms get too tired to stay up long enough to finish them. So they look like shit.
I've always loved your hair in braids.
Will you do it for me?
I can, but you're not gonna like it. You know I don't know how to braid. You just said you don't want them to look like shit.
That's not what I said. I like you, so I'll like the braids. ¿Me puedes hacer trenzas? Will you do it again?
Did you miss me?
Of course, I always miss you.
Did you bring me anything?
Small things.
I used the rocks you gave me to make paint.
What did you paint?
I tried to paint you, but I couldn't.
Do you get mad that I'm so much different than you?
No. I think you're beautiful, but you're never the same twice. And somehow you're always the same. I wish I knew how you did that.
Sometimes I wish I wasn't so wild. Sometimes I wish I didn't taste so bitter.
Yeah, me too. Sometimes your salt hurts my mouth where I chew on the inside of my cheek.
Do you wish I was different?
Never.
You're not coming back, are you? I don't think I can. I mean, it was fun when we were little, but I have to hold something that can hold me back. Will you remember? I hope so.
Thank you, and happy Oshun Day!
You have to make small talk with everybody. Not everyone observes time. I make talk, but I never small, okay?
Happy Oshun Day, little one. Praise be to the Most High, Oshun, goddess of sweet water, both prosperity and poverty. Where's love?
Hey, beautifuls. I just knew we were meeting on the other side. I got the bowl, though. I was so focused on the bowl, I left the mirror on my nightstand.
Oh, you're always getting caught up. Conflict, you know all about that. It's okay. We'll use for honest reflection.
Exactly. Thank you, time. Anywho, happy Oshun Day. Happy Oshun Day.
Happy Oshun Day.
Talked to the trees today about what had happened that fateful day. The chambers in my chest collapsed when beautiful bonds broke, uneven and not in my favor. They told me you were still here, for me to grieve. To meet you at the river with your own honey, combined with mine. Say I should strain us with my own fingers, watch with my own eyes. Come with the gifts you have already spoken into me, through both voice and whisper. Mind his yelling, wipe my lips of their cursive response. Give you praise, as well as my current heartache. They say, tell you of my lover, tell you of mine and his conflict, to form my own comfort. And you will hug me in the reminder. Only time will tell me the truth. As love seemingly runs from me, my ability to call out list with no malice grows.
Sitting, sitting, sitting in, sitting, sitting in that, sitting in that. Sitting in not knowing. Sitting in not knowing is a kind of opening. Sitting in not knowing. Sitting in not knowing. Sitting in not knowing. Sitting in not knowing. Sitting in not knowing is a kind of opening. Sitting, 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 sitting in that sitting, sitting in that knowing is a kind of opening. Sitting in not knowing is a kind of opening. Sitting in not knowing is a kind of opening. Sitting, not knowing. Sitting, sitting, not knowing. Not knowing. Sitting, not knowing. Sitting in not knowing. Sitting, sitting in not knowing. Sitting is a kind of opening. Sitting in not knowing. Sitting in not knowing. Sitting, sitting in not sitting, knowing. Sitting is a kind of opening. Not knowing. Sitting, opening. Is a kind of opening. Is a kind of opening. Opening. Sitting. Opening. Opening. Sitting. Opening, sitting in not knowing is a kind of opening. Sitting. Sitting in not knowing. Sitting in not knowing is a kind of opening. Is a time. Hey, who are those? Is a kind of opening.
is the time of opening.
I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. Remember her garden, a thing granted, taken, made. Feel seasons, touch ancestral knowing. What lies dormant is not dead. Deep slumbering, 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 deep. What lies dormant is not dead. Deep slumbering eternally stretches to be remembered without calendar. You know to sow. Days change. You know to reap. This is the seed. This seed will save your life. This seed is your life, is working to unfurl its promise. Be ready to reap, to reap, to reap. I'm a seed. I'm a weed. I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed. I'm a weed. I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed. I'm a weed. I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed. I'm a weed. I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed. I'm a weed. I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed. I'm a weed. I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a seed, I'm a weed, I'm a soul survivor.
I'm sorry, this is where things are, baby. I know it's disappointing news. My world is gonna change just so if my priorities as well. And things have gotta change. My life is bound to change. See, I'm in a weird spot, baby. And I'm worried about my baby. And nothing else really matters.
I'm Ellen Hinchcliffe. I'm the program director, and I want to thank all the artists again for their amazing work. And I want to thank Mina and Dipankar, the artistic directors of Pangea World Theater, for believing in this program and for supporting artists so much, especially through this really difficult time that we're all in. I want to thank Miranda, who is our ASL interpreter. I want to thank Suzanne and Emily and Jenny for holding this all down and making this all possible. This is a lot to do. It's a very, very hard way to do it. So we're just going to have an opportunity to hear from each of the artists. We're going to kind of popcorn through everybody, and it'll just give every artist an opportunity to talk a little bit about inform the work or change the work and what that was like, and also maybe a little bit about what it's like to make work at this time, what that means for them, and how being an artist at this time has been for them. So I'm going to start with Molly and Masa, and then they're going to go ahead.
Hello, I will speak first and then I'm going to make it short, then Molly would take over. We didn't talk about what we're going to talk. And so I'm going to talk three things. So one is my birthday is May 26th. That's day after George Floyd was murdered. And, that's profoundly changed, my life and all of us. And the second thing is, so, I didn't know what I can do as an artist, especially like I didn't, I'm devastated. And then like, how can I possibly function, and to, make the world a better place. And I was completely lost. And then this summer, there was a interfaith, this community church tent in North Minneapolis, led by Sandra and Don Samuels. So they were having this 30 days of prayers and also meditation. And each segment was segmented as 8 minutes and 46 seconds. So that I found out about this thing like 10 days in. So then from that point on, like I decided to go there every single day for 20 days. I just biked to North Minneapolis because I needed to have something to ground me. And then, so I went there for 20 days and just prayed and then met people. And I think that's affecting this work with Molly. And the third thing I'm going to talk about is Molly and I, we work together primarily as a theater artist and her as a director and then me as a performer or creator most of the time. And I think this piece too, I think we function as a, we just back and forth, like talking and then, but ultimately I think this piece was led by Molly, I think, and she had so much that she carried, and I just kind of followed, her guidance in a way. And then, anyway, so that's all I want to say. And I think it's a beautiful piece. And also one last thing is, I think there's a power in repeating things. I just realized in the mantra, like, repeating, invoking, like, your wish and then what you want to do. I think that's the beauty of this piece. Molly.
So beautiful, Masa. And I think it speaks to the depth of our collaboration that you thought that I led it, because I would say that you led it with your braiding through of your insights from your meditation practice. And we made the film 8 minutes and 46 seconds too. So I wanted to just note that. But I just want to spend a couple seconds talking about our story circle, which we went to Powderhorn Park, to the West Side Sanctuary, when hundreds of people were living there. I live a block off of the park. And I wrote poems for people, and Masa did gorgeous portraits of them, and we gave it to them. And I think a huge theme that came up in all of our conversations with people, they were very open-ended. We had no specific questions we were looking to answer. We were just really like, how are you doing? And a huge theme was not knowing how long they would be able to live there, and where they would go next. And this is where I might start to cry when they'll see their children next. There was a theme of not knowing when people were going to see their children next. And so there's a moment for us in the film where I'm sitting in the shadow of a tent, which was after the eviction, the forced removal. And that was, I think, a really powerful moment for us both to be at the Sanctuary Hotel on Lake Street and then move to the park and film in both of those places. So that was the distinct connection to Lake Street, or to the story circle. So it's been a really huge honor, Masa, to work in this new medium, and so incredible to work with this crew of visionaries and makers. So I think we're both really grateful. So Johanna and Alice and Baki.
Hello. So yeah, the three of us are a unit, so I think we should just, I'll say a few things and then say whatever you want to say, guys. But I'm Johanna, and our story circle happened this summer, and it was like, I feel like one of the only times that I like saw friends and people that I didn't know. We were outside, and we had a circle for young queer people of color that we were all close with and trusted with to have some intimate conversations and explorations around care and caring for one another and community care and what those things look like, feel like. And it was a really nice time, and we shared some snacks, and we were outside by water. And yeah, it feels like it stands out in my head because spaces like that have been very hard to come by right now. And then each of us kind of took the conversations, and we were having our own conversations throughout the whole thing, throughout the really long period of time, and doing some writing on our own, and trying to do like playwriting and dialogue writing, and the original plan was to have the three of us do our pieces together, to act in each other's pieces, but with like health concerns, and like I had a positive test in September, and just wanting to keep everybody safe, we decided to do our short plays within like our own pods of people that we see every day. So those are like kind of an obstacle that we had a conversation about, wanting to like keep intimacy in the work that we were doing, and like physical intimacy, and how like if we did it as a Zoom reading, it wouldn't quite feel right. And Baki was really great about having that conversation. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. It has been really difficult and really beautiful, and I'm just grateful to have been in conversation and in community with Ellis and Baki for a long time on this project, and just keep talking about these things that are hard to talk about right now. Okay, I'm done now.
Should I go next? Is that or do you want to?
Oh, okay, Baki, go.
Okay. I think it's interesting you said that I like had you gave me props for our conversation around not just doing each other's plays in a Zoom format, because I definitely look at that communication as one of the few times that I felt like I could showcase my frustration, anger, and rage without exploding fire onto my loved ones. And I think that was really interesting, and that kind of like goes along with this whole experience of communicating through Zoom, trying to love during a pandemic, trying to love as the veils of white supremacy are being removed and we can really just see the fascist state that we're in. loving during these times, communicating during these times. I think we talked a lot about conversations, even though that might get meta. And I think that you could see that in our pieces. And I also like the movement in our pieces and how it goes along with all these beautiful, amazing artists that we have, because while we have so many different takes, I do see similar acts of motion and tenderness and either touch or reasoning with touch. So I just feel honored and great to love the people I love and be able to create during these times and be able to be my full self, my full trickster self. I still get to have rage, and we're learning how to like make that so that I'm learning and my people are learning how to communicate frustrations without it impacting our immune systems. And I really mean that on a location front, spiritual front, and emotional front. So I'll share gratitude to y'all, you know.
Yeah, I think that what I wasn't anticipating with this project was that there would be so much grieving of space that we weren't able to share, grieving of ways in which we maybe had imagined this piece that couldn't come to fruition. And there were days that I got really frustrated and I said, you know, like, what does it mean to be an artist right now? Some days art felt like the only thing that mattered, and other days it felt like it was the last thing that mattered. And that's, I think, something that a lot of artists are struggling with right now. And I'm really grateful to be able to work with Baki and Johanna, who are both really just feeling, and it was interesting to make collaborative work in a time where I can't, you know, or we can't like hold each other, where we couldn't braid each other's hair, where we couldn't like have sleepovers and like talk about like the art we're making. And so I'm grateful to be able to explore these new ways of connecting with other artists. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. And I guess I'll have to pick the next person. Sequoia.
Hi everybody. Buju Anin and Dinaway Maganagi Doug, Sequoia Hauck and Dijnakas, Gawaba Bakinakag and Dunjaba, Ajak and Dudame, Ashijabi Beezing and Da. Hi everybody. Yeah, this is a really interesting journey. I'll talk about my story circle first. I sort of changed my mind halfway through sort of about my story circle directly after George Floyd was murdered, because I sort of felt that I really, you know, I mean, everything sort of changed after that in terms of what we were thinking and what I was thinking about at the time. And so my story circle ended up being a moment over Zoom for BIPOC peoples to come together and take a moment to recharge themselves. I was sort of seeing the need of people to take a moment for themselves as well, so that they were able to continue going to the protests, going to the rally, leaving their houses during a pandemic, and fighting this good fight that everyone is doing, been continuing to doing and was really doing at that time. And so I really saw the want and need from myself, at least, to have some sort of form of community, even over Zoom, to take a moment to recharge ourselves. And so I sort of led a meditation warm-up ritual sort of thing, and shared the first iteration of the poem that you heard tonight, as well as then opened up to everyone, so we could have some collective healing, and be able to share tools or resources or just little things that people were doing throughout their day to heal themselves or recharge or do whatever they felt good for themselves. And that was really nice to share those. And it was friends I hadn't seen for a while. And so it was a very, very special moment for me. And Miranda also interpreted. So thank you, Miranda. And I think the real struggle for me doing this project was I really had a hard time thinking about anything other than Black Lives Matter. I really didn't know how to do a piece about myself, about my identity, about indigeneity at that time. And I didn't really know where my voice should have been. And so I sort of confided in my friend Ta-Sung Ong to just sort of help me navigate where I should be, where my voice should be, what I should be thinking about right now, and where best I could be and do in my art. And so we sort of through that conversation with them, I was able to sort of focus and narrow down on thinking about the root of sort of these issues. And I sort of established those as capitalization and colonization, which I sort of talked about in this piece. And so from there, I was able to sort of pull back and realize, you know, all the things that can come from there. And so that's when I sort of found my avenue of, well, we've all been affected by colonization and we've all been affected by capitalization heavily. And so what are things that personally that I feel within my community that have affected capitalization and colonization that I know of affect other BIPOC communities, other Black communities, and sort of went from there to talk about that. And I think for this piece, I would have loved, the dreams and hopes would have been to have many people say the poem and have their voices and their faces in this piece. But I also had a positive test in August. And so that sort of just was out of the question. And I didn't feel like I, you know, had the agency to ask people to leave their houses and, or even film over their cameras, an extra thing. Cause sometimes I felt that even getting out of bed for myself was hard to do. So asking someone else to do something just seemed sort of out of the reach for me. And so I asked my best friend, Samuel Mom, who was in my bubble, to shoot most of the footage for me and with me. And my mom actually played piano on that and sent it to me. And so she wrote that song when I was little and it popped in my mind. So thank you, Mom, for doing that. But it was very interesting. And I think it's the sort of learning and growing and expanding in ways that I didn't think I would be doing with this piece. That is sort of interesting and exciting for me, but it's also the sadness and the grief that people have talked about of what could have been and what we wish sort of would have happened. And so I think I'm still grappling with that and sort of figuring out how to navigate that, but sort of that's where I'm at. But it was such a beautiful piece and I was so honored to be with everyone tonight sharing the work. So thank you all. Thank you, Ellen and Pangea and DePunker and Mina. So thank you all. Miré, do you want to talk?
Yes. Oh, I think I disappeared. I did.
Juma, do you want to go and we'll see if we can get Miré back?
Sure, I'll go ahead. Oh, there's Miré. Miré, do you want to go ahead? No? Okay. All right, so I'll talk a little bit about my story circle and then about being an artist right now. So my story circle was, I think it was me and I think 5 other Black artists talking about Blackness in nature. And it was just a really great and profound conversation for me. It really fed me. It was something I needed and didn't even realize I needed. So many things came out of it. And one of the things I talk about in the poem was something that Aaron Sharkey talked about when we're talking about just Black people in connection to land. And, you know, for the majority of African Americans, their ancestors were enslaved in this country, and how that can be a painful relationship. But then Erin brought up this point where she said, well, not in the garden. And she brought up this point about how enslaved people had their own, were given a plot, and how there was pride in that and being able to produce and the connection to that and feed their family and supplement their nutrition. And it was super profound to me on so many levels, that one thing. And then also, you know, the other things we talked about, just about the idea of like weeds. And let me back up a little bit. So when I was a kid, my grandmother had certain things that she would do that I didn't understand. And I still don't understand a lot of them. But I like rituals, I guess, you know, like if it was a heavy thunderstorm, she would cover the mirrors, things like that. And think about like weeds, these things that we see in our yard that we say, oh, we don't need them. And we toss them out to have this green yard that looks like everyone else's green yard because we don't need to eat anything from there. We don't need any nourishment from there. We don't need anything to heal us from there. It's just a yard, right? And those are weeds, right? And so in becoming civilized, we destroy the things that could save us, that we need to save us, and we disconnect from that knowledge. And when I say civilized, I mean buying into capitalist notion of being human as opposed to seeing yourself as a human being, which is a spiritual being, a spiritual manifestation of the earth in this form, right? So obviously a lot of thoughts came out of the story circle. And then I, just been thinking a lot about what it means to be an artist right now. And right after the election in 2016, I read again The Life of Poetry by Murray Wekaiser. And that's a book that I have read many times over and over again in the last over 20 years. But one of the things she talks about is poetry as one of our sources of power. And I think as artists, and she talks about it as a source of power, and also that it has no space for it in the American life, that source of power. And I think that is true for us as artists, our ability to imagine beyond the moment and to give voice to that and to find where it lives inside of us and to share it and articulate it is power. That's a seed that they would say is a weed, right? That is power. And I think there's nothing more important than for artists right now to embody their authentic selves, to see themselves as human beings, to touch their spirits, to ask what is alive inside of them and to express it. It is vital because it will save the world. It will save you and it will save the world. And that is our sacred duty as artists, right? That is what I feel we are here to do. So I feel like there's nothing more important than me actually doing the process of creating art right now. Maybe more than producing art, but the process of making art. I hope I haven't said too much or gone over my time. But I love all of you, that we were all able to create in this time. It's a difficult time, and it's so important to be a human being, to be an artist, to be connected, to be authentic, to have coherent thought and to share that is the most important thing right now. And I respect everyone who can do that. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to do it. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Let's give this a shot. Zoom clearly is having feelings today because it's just bumped me out and restarted itself. So clearly we weren't going to get away with this without some technical difficulty. Let's hope it doesn't do it again. So I am sitting outside on this lovely frosty evening. I was not outside the whole night, but part of why I wanted to do that was because I wanted to be with you all in the space. My story circle was me and 3 other Black women, different generations, but each of whom either for themselves, but more all 3 of them have really been focused on interventions is the wrong word, but sort of interceding either on an individual level or on a community level for folks of all kinds, but with a focus on BIPOC folks. And I think the way I talked about the work really does come out of a place that I haven't had access to, and I don't feel like Black women and just people of color don't have access to. And even as we stand in this pandemic, we still don't have time and access to. There's a lot of conversation about how, things have slowed down in the pandemic, theoretically, or that there's more space. And in certain ways, I know for myself and a lot of the people close to me, a lot of the BIPOCs close to me, there are moments when it feels like it's even going faster because we have to be ready to respond. We have to be ready for the next thing. And so this feels essential. There are people coming down the block. This is on my front lawn. And so this is just in the neighborhood. People in the neighborhood, I actually live in Southwest Minneapolis, which is not right near Lake Street. And it's a really both beautiful and confusing thing to my neighbors, very few of whom are BIPOC folks, but it feels like it's important for this kind of space to be everywhere and to be accessible in the face of what should be, as Juma was talking about, pristine lawns and like the limitations of the expectations of capitalism and the way we should all be the same. So I'm very excited to be here, even though it's very cold. I think I do want to remind us all that, COVID is many things, but it is very much an illness of the lungs. And when you understand that the lungs are the organ of grieving, we just all have a lot of work to do, and we need to sort of stand in our sorrow and move through our sorrow, because if we keep hanging on to it, we're not going to get through this. I'm going to go ahead and mess up the beauty of this, but part of what I wanted y'all to see is that there's now a circular altar in it. And the other thing that I did want people to see is that it's still open to the sky, but there's this really, really lovely, multicolored, very loose roof, which is beautiful at night, but is also really gorgeous during the day. Thank you. I'm really pleased to be in this circle with people. I'm really pleased to have built and continue to be building something that I'm excited to take out to other parts of the community in the spring. Thanks for letting me be a part of this.
Thank you, Miré. I guess my sound was bad, so I'm jumping on with Juma now. Stand in Our Sorrow is a beautiful kind of part of what I've been really holding with all the work that people have made. I just think the power of grieving is really something that's stolen in this society, and we see it every day. We see the ways that our history, which could be our path forward, is taken from us in that way, and the gaslighting is just over the top right now about the grief that people are suffering. So I just want to thank all the artists again. I want to remind you that there's another night, and there's still 4 more artists tomorrow night to share their work, more amazing work to see. And also the Moadas, who created the beautiful music video and the interludes that kind of wove the whole thing together. They'll be a part of the Artist Talk Back too, and also get a chance to talk about their process. So please tune back in tomorrow night, 7:30, also same place on Pangea, and then the talk back will happen just like this. And then also please tell people that weren't able to come that all of this will be up on Pangea's website probably in about a week. And so people can still come and see all the work and also see the talk back too, so have a chance to see it later. Also, there's so many things about us not being in a theater together right now that are really so difficult and hard. The only one positive thing I feel like that's great is that people can share in this work from wherever they are. And that's the one really good part about it being like this. So I'm happy that people are able to check in from wherever they are and see it. But I just have so much respect for all the artists and everyone at Pangea that made this happen. I think it's actually more work to pull something off like this on Facebook and Zoom than it is to do it in a theater. It's just a lot of work. So I thank everyone again for all the work they've done. All right, so again, thank you all for being here, and yeah, tune in again tomorrow night and see more beautiful work. Okay. What did you say?